Welcome to today's Learn at Lunchtime program from the State Museum of Pennsylvania. I am Beth Erickson. The topic today is Discover Dairy Beyond the Fridge, and with us is Brittany Snyder from the Dairy Excellence Foundation. Brittany hails from Mooresville, Pennsylvania, where she grew up on her family's seventh-generation dairy farm. She is a graduate of Delaware Valley University with a degree in agribusiness and a focus in dairy science. A past Pennsylvania State Dairy Princess, substitute teacher, and dance instructor, her passion for teaching and education led her to working at the Dairy Excellence Foundation in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Since 2018, Brittany has been the Dairy Education Programs Manager, leading their world-renowned programs such as Discover Dairy and Adopt a Cow. Hello, Brittany, and thank you for presenting today.
Hello, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you, Beth.
So tell us a little bit more about yourself and your life experience growing up on a dairy farm.
Yeah, absolutely. So your bio told my professional life mostly, but on a personal level, so I grew up on a dairy farm. I'm so incredibly blessed for that opportunity. Getting to milk cows and feed cows most of my life. Now I get to kind of flip the script and be on the other side. But I love to run. I love to dance, as you heard there. I love line dancing and traditional dance, hip hop, ballet, all that sort of stuff. Very involved in other agriculture now too. We have a sawmill that our family owns in Berks County, as well as an orchard. Some fun things that we get to experience in life. And Other than that, I have a dog and two cats, and the typical things in life. So
There you go. It sounds exciting.
it is.
So we had the opportunity for you to visit at the museum in person a few weeks ago, and you
I did.
demonstrated for our visitors how to make yogurt at home,
Yes.
which was amazing and delicious.
I
So,
personally agree. It's constantly in my fridge. It's a staple.
and I keep telling people about it. They're like, what? We can make yogurt at home? Like, that's amazing.
Hmm.
So, but this leads me to ask a question. Which would you choose for a dessert? Frozen yogurt or ice cream?
I think it comes down to where the ice cream's coming from. There are
Mm.
some places that have stellar ice cream. It's real cream, probably heavier on the sugar, but that's what makes it even better. But if I know it's going to be like an icier ice cream, then I'll choose the yogurt, the frozen yogurt.
Okay. All right. Well, I learned a lot from you when you were here in person, so let's learn more today. So let's get to the presentation to learn more. So while you start getting start getting set up, let me remind the audience that this webinar is being recorded. By participating in this webinar, you're consenting to the recording, retention, and use of any statements recorded as part of this webinar. Included in today's webinar is an opportunity to ask questions. Please submit questions about today's topic in the Q&A feature, and Brittany will get to as many as we can after the presentation is complete. So Brittany, it looks like you're all ready. Go ahead and begin.
All right. Thank you, Beth. So, as we had discussed, I am the Dairy Education Program Manager at the Dairy Excellence Foundation in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Here, I get to work with an absolutely incredible team of seven very passionate people who live to serve our dairy farmers and the industry. As a girl who was a dairy princess and a promoter for most of grade school and even through college, honestly, this job is my dream job of being able to connect people of all ages to real farmers and helping you create real memories in the dairy industry. And so while I'm very thankful for the opportunity to be working on this team for the last 7.5 years or so, truly the reason I'm here today is because of this little girl. This was me when I was 4 years old. When I was that little Miss Dairy Princess, my promoter self kicked in. That milk punch, I can practically taste the delicious nutmeg and cinnamon in my mouth. It was my favorite fall punch. Highly recommend it. We did that at a ton of our promotions. But that is the reason why I'm here today and why I truly believe in the importance of dairy education for all ages, pre-K to adult. Because at 4 years old, until I was in 10th grade, I had the opportunity to live on a dairy farm. My brother runs our dairy farm now, but I got to see dairy farming firsthand, right? I knew without a fathom of a doubt that dairy farmers were hardworking, dedicated people who are the ultimate stewards of our cows and land. These farms can't exist for hundreds of years if they're not doing something right. But the thing is, I know when I was in school, I was one of very few people that actually understood and had this firsthand experience. I know how blessed I was to have this amazing opportunity and live on a farm and just inherently understand where my food comes from. I have that connection and story that lets me trust where my food and where my food and dairy comes from, and I know it's from coming from a good place. So it's because of that 4-year-old that I'm here today, because more than 98% of the country doesn't get that kind of experience. Since only 2% of the population even works in the agriculture industry, and then just a fraction of the agriculture industry is the dairy industry. So I'm here for you. If nothing else, I really hope you can leave today with this sense of the kind of commitment and grit that dairy farmers have just to make sure you have food on your table and walk away inspired to maybe find your own dairy story. All right. So we're going to start off with just what do we know, right? I don't know that I can see anyone's hands. I think you probably can raise hands while I'm in presentation mode. I can't quite see it, but I'm curious, go ahead and interact as you can. When you think of the dairy industry, what do you think of? What thoughts and images come to mind? Do you maybe think of equipment that looks like this? Or maybe do we still think that cows are milked by hand? Maybe do we understand how milk is processed, or do we still envision that glass bottle, pouring it into the into the cartons and just that whole very rustic feel? And most of all, who do we think of when we think of a dairy farmer? Probably someone like this, right? Probably we think of grandpa who lives on the farm, lives simple life. He's got a straw hat and a flannel shirt, bib overalls, or maybe, just maybe, we're like, well, someone's got to take over the farm next. So we're looking at the son or the grandson to take over. Um, it's funny because this is the image that we all have in our head, and it's cartoons, it's movies, it's everything telling us this is a dairy farmer. But in reality, this is what dairy looks like, right? We don't have, there are some, but the majority that are feeding the country are dairy farms with hundreds or thousands of cows in barns that are more beautiful than my own house. They have big open ventilation systems, they've got fans and sprinklers that automatically start when it gets to a certain temperature. These cows are living on mattresses or water beds. I don't even have a water bed, right? They're living on water beds that are bedded with sand or comfortable recycled manure. They're like on the beach every single day with those sand beds. Technology has just come so far in the dairy industry in the last 50 to 75 years, and what we can do to provide this ultimate comfort for these cows. And now you even see barns that look like this. This is a testimony to just how much dairy technology and the industry has changed in the last 50 years. This is a farm out in Arizona where dairy farming wouldn't have been possible before advanced technology because of the extreme heat in Arizona. Cows are most comfortable at like 50 to 60 degrees. They start to experience a little bit of heat stress once you start to get into the 70s. So Arizona with their 100-degree temperatures all the time, it's just not a viable place. Until technology could step in, these high-tech barns create a cool space for more than 20,000 cows to go in an area where it's the hottest part of the day, dropping the temperature 40 degrees and letting them live a cool, comfortable life. It's absolutely incredible what it can do. And I mean, you can see the barn. It's just a pole barn with some curtains and then the big fans that are misting constantly on them all day long. It's really cool what technology can do now. And then when we think of our equipment, right? We had that old tractor we saw earlier. We still see plenty of those across the country and especially in Pennsylvania. But this is the tractor that we see in our fields actually feeding the world. These are the ones that are harvesting thousands and thousands of acres. And the cooler part is when you step into that tractor, these tractors drive themselves. They could drive themselves before cars could drive themselves. They have GPS tracking in them. They can tell you exactly where they're at. My brother-in-law is a crop farmer, and he will often not snooze, but relax, watch a football game, do kind of the relaxing things when he's in huge fields where he can just chug for acres and acres, because the technology is that amazing just inside a tractor. Then if we move to the actual the milk processing part of dairy farming, it looks like this now. No more milking by hand. Everything is run by a rhythmic machine. It's relaxing. It's enjoyable for the cows. It's automatic takeoff, so they're only milked for 3 to 5 minutes, about 2 to 3 times a day, and it just creates this consistent routine. Or we might even see farms that have these. Robots are becoming more and more popular on farms. This is not an uncommon thing. There's multiple farms in Pennsylvania that have robots that will do farm tours and things like that that you could see if you're interested. The dairy industry is just no longer milking by hand and old tractors. It is new, it is modern. There's a lot of drive and positivity behind it, and just excitement for the next generation. Of course, but most of all, if you think back to the picture of grandpa that I showed you, the people in the dairy industry have really changed. While plenty of grandpas are definitely still around in our family farms, my grandparents have been around for a long time. Um, our families are more diverse in what they look like and who's running them. We now see our farm owners that look like this. This is a farm I've gotten a chance to work with in my role, out in Minnesota. They are four ladies who run and operate a dairy farm, and they have a creamery that has won national and world global awards for their cheese. And it's the four of them taking the industry by storm, really just kicking everyone's butt in the dairy industry. They are doing an awesome job out there in Minnesota. And they also look like this, right? We've got modern dairy farms that are multicultural. This is a calf management team on the Arizona farm that I highlighted earlier. They support entire families with a place to live, a place to work, providing a healthy product for us to enjoy. And honestly, they are providing some of the best care. Time and time again, I have farmers share that their cultural employees that come in are just the ones they can hands down always trust to do the best job. And then not only that, but farmers look like us too. They're just average people who look like you and me, who have kids and grandkids and grandparents, and just love sports, love hobbies. They also might look like this, right? This Circle J Dairy is a first generation dairy farm. They just opened their business and started processing milk a couple years ago, within the last 3 or 4 years or so. Or they might look like Paige. You can see Paige there. I had the opportunity to work with Paige a couple years ago. She is a herd manager, and right, you can see it on her TikTok screenshot. She doesn't like country music. She didn't grow up on a farm. She has other hobbies like CrossFit. She has a degree in farming and actually taking care of this. And I love her statement that farmers come in all types. We aren't all old McDonald's. And then just to make something, a local connection for us here, this is a farmer, Cassie Long. She's a single mom who is running a dairy farm and farm store in Chester County, Pennsylvania. So we're not too far from there. And just 15 years ago, she decided she wanted to learn how to dairy farm and be in the dairy industry, right? These are our dairy farmers today. She she had no idea where to start. She literally opened up the phone book and called the first number that she saw that had the word farm in it. And it happened to be Royal Farms. And for anyone who doesn't know, that is a popular gas station in Maryland. But since she had just moved to the area, she had no clue who she was calling. She was, barely 15. But somehow someone at Royal Farms was a 4-H leader. They connected her with Cassie, and slowly but surely, she started showing cows and she started owning cows. She got her degree in dairy science. She's very involved in the community. She got a part-time job feeding calves, moved up to herd manager, and then took a leap of faith and bought a farm on her own to fulfill her lifelong dream. She is like all of our farmers. They are committed, they have grit. Um, Man, her world flipped upside down, um, about a year ago when they bought the farm. And now, or a year after they bought the farm, and even though things haven't been easy, she pushes every single day to make sure her cows get the best care she can provide. So that way she can make sure you are getting a local product that's good and healthy for you. These farmers just have this drive to want to feed the world. And it is a drive that is just something that, unless you're in the industry, it's hard to comprehend. So today I want you to make sure that you realize our dairy farmers look like this. Our dairy farmers are diverse, intelligent people. And because of these movers and shakers who have changed the demographics of dairy, our dairy industry is stronger and more vibrant than ever. So we're gonna kind of shift a little bit here. Um, we've learned a little bit about the dairy industry and who is behind the dairy industry, but now we're gonna dive into how. Let's look at how it all happens. So just like any food commodity group, there's a process to get the milk from the farm to you. So we're going to check out, what does that milk journey look like, and how does milk get from the farm to you? And honestly, it's pretty simple to kind of explain this through 6 steps. It's going to seem like, wow, that's really easy and simple, but please recognize that there are a lot of nuances in amongst all of this, and that dairy farming is a 365 job, 24/7. But it's a job worth living for when you can provide a really great product for the world. So it all starts with the farmer, as we've talked about, right? They are the primary caretaker for the cows. They keep the barns clean and safe. They feed and water all of the animals multiple times a day. And they need to know basic medical care for cows. While most of them are not actual veterinarians, they do know how to do the basic medical practices. They can give IVs, they can do what they need to, they can give medicine. Veterinarians are always being worked with and talked to and getting a counsel from. But most of these farmers, you need to be a fix-it guy. You need to know how to work with engines. You need to understand animals. You need to know how to be a conservationist. You need to, there's so many pieces to the puzzle to be able to run a farm. And, being able to take care of potentially sick cows if that ever happens is part of that. Fun fact, maybe something if you're thinking of a dairy farm, you might think maybe you hear mooing all the time. I don't know if anyone on this call has been on a farm before or has milked a cow before, maybe, but dairy farms are actually very quiet. Other than the tractor and equipment running, the cows themselves are very quiet. We may think cows moo a lot, but typically if a cow is mooing, it's because something's off. Maybe she's just hungry. When they're babies, they act like they're hungry all the time. So you might hear them moo quite a bit. But as they get older and they get this routine, they've got food in front of them 24/7, they really are just incredibly quiet animals. So if they moo, it's really just because they're annoyed with another cow, they're hungry, maybe they're not feeling well. But regardless, a cow mooing is telling us, hey, I'm not totally relaxed right now, which is why when you step onto a dairy farm, you really don't hear much mooing unless it's feeding time, right? Unless that tractor is coming down the aisle and they're releasing the feed, then you might hear some mooing because they're excited. But I just think it's very neat. I think a lot of stories and storybooks and childhood memories and maybe even movies and stuff, it makes you think that cows are moving all the time. And fun fact, it's actually a very quiet environment and very peaceful to get a lot of thinking done. All right, so then step number 2, right? So um, happy cows and quiet cows make milk. So if it's quiet, we know they're happy, and if they're happy, they're making milk. If cows aren't happy, they're not going to make milk. There is no way around it, right? We can't. This is not something that you can tell them just make milk. It doesn't work that way. So these cows have to be 100% satisfied to be able to produce milk. And just like humans, cows need to have a calf first before they can produce milk. So at about 2 years old, cows will have their first calf and then join the milking herd. For the first 2 years of her life, she honestly did nothing other than eat and sleep and hang out with her herd mates and really just focus on growing her body. At 2 years old, that's about 20 years old in human years. It's approximately 1 year to cow years for 10 years of human years. So at 2 years old, she becomes mature and she can have her first calf. Now that she's joined the milking herd, she is now eating and drinking a lot more because her body is now producing milk. So just like a nursing mom, right? We're now eating and drinking a lot more too. So she can eat up to or more than 100 pounds of food, and 40 gallons of water every single time, which is like a bathtub full of water. So if you think about that, if our average herd size here in Pennsylvania is about 90 cows, you certainly have farms bigger than that and certainly have farms smaller than that. But that's a lot of food that our farmers need to grow on their fields and make sure that they have a healthy crop, and then also a lot of water to source. So farmers are really great conservationists and taking good care of their waterways and streams to making sure that these cows have plenty of water to drink. And honestly, cows love to be milked. For many mothers out there that might be on this call, that relief that is felt when you're feeding a baby, right? It's the same thing that applies to a dairy cow. It's a similar process 2 to 3 times a day, every single day for about 305 days out of the year. The other 60 days, they get to go on a vacation. So cows will typically have about one calf a year. And then when she's in the last 2 months of pregnancy, we want to make sure we give her plenty of time to relax and focus on all of her energy on growing a healthy baby, while also staying happy and healthy herself. So she does get to have a 2 month vacation where she literally does nothing but eat and sleep and hang out in a field somewhere. All right. So now, once the cow is milked, the milk has to go somewhere, right? So the milk goes through some pipes, then it goes through a plate cooler, and then into a bulk tank where the milk is stored. Um, I'm curious, I'll let you think about it. Does anyone know what temperature milk comes out of a cow? And just think about it for a second. I'll come back to that. But what temperature do you think milk comes out of a cow? So when it comes out of the cow, we put that milker on. It is only 3 to 5 minutes long, and that milk is never touched by human hands, right? So that milker is being put on. It feels just like a slight little vacuum section. It's very calm and relaxing. It pulses front, back in this very rhythmic motion. The milk goes through the pipes and then goes into that bulk tank. So when it comes out of that cow, it comes out at 101.5 degrees, which is their internal body temperature. So similar to us. And then within 30 minutes, when it runs through that plate cooler, which is running the milk past cold water, it cools it down. And then that bulk tank or that milk tank refrigerates it even faster. So within 30 minutes, they'll get that milk down to about 36 or 38 degrees, making sure to keep that milk cold and fresh right after milking. So after that, it's picked up, right? This happens depending on the farm size, every other day is the average. If you're a larger farm, 500 plus animals, you probably have someone come and pick your milk up every single day. So that milk truck driver also doesn't have many days off because they've got a pretty demanding job too. But they do the first test here when they pick up the milk. So milk is actually tested up to 17 times from the time it's picked up on the farm until it gets to your refrigerator, making sure that every single drop of milk you are drinking is 100% safe for you. So they pick up the milk, they take it in that tanker truck so it stays nice and cold, and then they take it all the way to the processing plant, which I'm sure some local ones around here in Pennsylvania you know of, things like Turkey Hill or Harrisburg Dairies, or we've got Rudders, or we have Clover Farms, or there's all kinds of dairies all over the state. We're honestly very fortunate to have so many processors in Pennsylvania because we need it. We have so many dairy farms in Pennsylvania. All right, so in the processing plant, it goes through more tests, as we talked about, up to 17 times, and then it'll go through a couple of different processes. So if you've ever looked at your gallon of milk, it will say on it, it's pasteurized and homogenized, or it's pasteurized whole milk, or anything like that. So let me just explain the two in case you haven't heard this before. So pasteurizing milk is a method that was started because milk is a raw product, right? Milk coming out of the cow, while it's healthy and for me growing up on a farm, I did drink raw milk. It was something that I enjoyed and loved. That's because I knew what we were giving our cows and I knew the milk coming out was safe. Um, just like any raw product, raw chicken, raw meat, anything, there's always a risk when it's raw, right? So when you pasteurize milk, you're heating the milk to a very high temperature to kill any bacteria that might be found in there. It's very rare, but it does take care of any of that risk. We cool it back down quickly, and that then eliminates all of bacteria possibilities, making that milk 100% safe for you every single time that you are drinking that milk. And then homogenization is something a little bit different. So this is a process of spinning milk really fast to break down the fat molecules. This doesn't change the nutritional value, though you'll hear some people try to claim that. There's no scientific evidence for that. I will say, though, non-homogenized milk, I personally prefer the taste, but it's a little bit harder to find. That's something called a cream line milk. You'll see a lot of local creameries sell that kind of thing. But the benefit to homogenization means whenever you go to pick up your gallon of milk, you don't need to shake it and to mix up the fat layer on the top to mix it up with the milky water underneath. So milk is actually 87% water. And if it's not homogenized, the fat molecules in the milk, the cream, will settle to the top over time, and the minerals in the water will settle to the bottom. And so that's when it's non-homogenized or cream line milk. Most of your milk, though, that you'll buy from the grocery store is pasteurized and homogenized out of convenience. So you don't have to shake that gallon of milk every single time. And then, of course, that's just for creating milk itself. Obviously, you can make milk into all kinds of things: milk, cheese, yogurt, cottage cheese, ice cream. One of my personal favorites is kefir. It's very tangy and it's like a smoothie consistency. Delicious. All right. So then finally, of course, right, the milk gets to you. We are very fortunate here in Pennsylvania that we have more than 4,800 dairy farms, which allows all of our communities to have access to fresh milk as quick as 24 hours after a cow is milked. Let me just say that again, because sometimes people are like, wait, actually that quick, right? 4,800 dairy farms in Pennsylvania, and our infrastructure is honestly really fantastic that we can get the milk from the farm. It leaves the cow, right? It's maybe on the farm for a maximum of 5 to 12 hours. It's picked up, it's taken to the processing plant. It's processed in 12 to 24 hours, and definitely within 48 hours, it is in your grocery store. But here in Pennsylvania, because we have so many farms and so many processors, and the distance just doesn't need to be as far, we can get it as quick as 24 hours. Talk about freshness and just the wholesome goodness that we can get to you in your refrigerator. But on average, we do say 48 hours for the whole country. There's obviously some areas of the country that don't have dairy farms, or not as many. You're hiking the milk a lot further, but you can be rest assured pretty much that your milk here in Pennsylvania is coming locally and is going to be from the farm within a day or two. It really is incredible how quick all of this moves. But it needs to, right? Milk is a perishable product, and dairy farmers want to make sure you're getting a product that's healthy and fresh. Quality is key, but so is quickness and just a consistency day in and day out. So now that you're all experts in dairy, right? I want to challenge you to discover your dairy story. As I mentioned before, we are really lucky here in Pennsylvania with so many local farms. And not only do we have these local farms who are producing local product, but there are a lot of them that are open to farm opportunities, that will let you on their farm or have a visit, or see how it all works. Now, I do say that with just with caution. Please don't ever just walk onto a farm. These are their homes. These are their businesses. This is private property. But that being said, there are many farmers who have a passion for wanting to share their story with you, especially if they've got a creamery or they make cheese or anything like that. There are plenty of farms in Pennsylvania that you could learn from and connect with. So I don't expect you to blindly trust that your food is good for you. We should be asking and challenging the usual. We should be asking the questions to make sure the food we're putting into our body is good for us. And so you can make those informed decisions for you and your family on what to buy and eat. I really encourage you to visit a farm or ask a farmer, hear them out, hear their story, learn about the love and care that's poured into a farm and every single cow on that farm. Build a relationship with them and know your milk comes from a good place. They have been part of your community for decades, possibly even centuries. And there are many century farms here in Pennsylvania who have been in business that long. I really can't think of many businesses that have been around for 100+ years. But when it comes to the dairy industry, there is just this sense of resiliency and passion to provide for you. They care so deeply about the product they're giving you. If you're interested, if you want to dive into, yeah, I want to connect with a farmer. I want to find my dairy story. I would love to learn more. I would love to make sure, learn what that product is that I'm putting in my body. I work for the Dairy Excellence Foundation, but we also have an organization called the Center for Dairy Excellence. This is really my work I do is very national focused, but our Center for Dairy Excellence is Pennsylvania focused. This is an interactive map we have on our website. This just highlights just a small smidgen couple farms that are in Pennsylvania, can tell their story, where approximately where they're at. Do they have a creamery? Do they have a place you can visit? Do they do farm tours? So we have that on our website that we can gladly share that link with you. I can make sure to get that to Beth, to get that to everybody. Um, and you can click on that and learn. We also are partners with the tourism department here in Pennsylvania, and we put on the PA Ice Cream Trail. So if you haven't heard of it, oh, you definitely need to check it out. It's something that it opens up in June, closes out in August time. And there are, gosh, more than 60, 70 some creameries on the tour now. We keep expanding and adding creameries every year because we are just so lucky to have so much amazing ice cream here in Pennsylvania, that you can go and tour the entire state, get to eat some really good ice cream, and many of them have the actual farm right there and offer farm tours and things like that. So it's always worth asking. It's always worth reaching out. You can start with that PA Ice Cream Trail. You can start with our website. You can reach out to us if you're ever interested in looking for someone who does stuff. There's also farms out there, like a local one, Oregon Dairy in Lidditz, Pennsylvania, right? They have just kind of this ongoing, it's very open farm focus. The farm I mentioned, Cassie Long, out in Chester County, you're allowed to just walk onto her farm and watch the milking process. She has a viewing window that you can see the parlor, ask her any questions, go check out her farm store and buy some products from her farm store. Just a lot of great opportunities all over the state where you can learn about dairy, but really honestly, it's for you, it's for your health, it's for your family to make sure you're making the best educated decisions when feeding your family. So I'll wrap up here. I know that was quite a bit of information, kind of a dairy dump, you might say, of just a ton of great content. But I welcome you to reach out to me or our team if you have any questions. It truly is an honor getting to work with the PA Museum and share this message. As Beth had said, I love getting to share how to make your own Greek yogurt with an instant pot. It's super simple. There's all kinds of things like that we have resources of at the center and the foundation. We have dairy education programs that meet K to 12 and college students. There's just all kinds of good stuff. Not only is it important for you and your family, but there's real career opportunities in the dairy industry too. So if you've got kids who are exploring that world of what do I want to be when I grow up, maybe the dairy industry is a place for them. It's wholesome, it's rewarding, and you get to work with pretty awesome gentle giants every day. So thank you so much, everyone, for letting me tune in today. I hope you learned a little something. And I guess at this point we'll take any questions if you have any.
Yeah, thank you, Brittany, so much for your presentation and your enthusiasm for this topic. That's phenomenal. So go ahead, turn
Absolutely.
your camera back on,
Yeah.
and we'll get to
No.
some questions here.
Awesome.
Okay. So it's amazing that the milk gets to the store so quickly. How does someone know when you're at the grocery store that you are buying a product that's a Pennsylvania produced product?
Oh, that's a great question. So here in Pennsylvania, I don't know if anyone's seen it or heard it. We have a slogan that's choose PA dairy. This is something that actually came out of COVID time. The milk supply was kind of crazy at that time. And we just wanted to encourage people, don't worry, these farmers are still producing milk. They haven't stopped just because COVID happened. So choose Pennsylvania dairy, choose that local product, support a local economy. So there's a lot of places, especially local farmers, that will put the PA preferred logo on their products. So you can look for the PA preferred. Or if you're just looking for at your gallon of milk at any grocery store, every single gallon of milk, chocolate, white, whatever it is, has a plant code on it. It's going to be two numbers, a dash, and then three or four numbers. I'm forgetting how many is in the second half, but you'll see it printed in black somewhere on the bottle. You want to look for those first two digits to say 42. When those first two digits say 42, that's a Pennsylvania code. And it's kind of cool. I nerded out on that at one point, and when I learned that, I was like, wait, so that means it goes in alphabetical order, fun fact. So if it's a number that's above 42, think through the alphabet of other states that are above Pennsylvania. And if it's a number that's bigger than 42, then it's a state alphabetically after Pennsylvania. But that's how those plant codes are assigned. We're plant code 42. That's how you know that the milk was processed in Pennsylvania.
That's a really cool fact.
Mhm.
So you showed slides of the modern milking facilities that included robots, which is
Yeah.
amazing. Um, is modern milking technology more sanitary than the old-fashioned way?
Hmm. Um, so I would say, yeah, absolutely. Just like everything else in in all of life, right? We learned that, okay, we should have our hair back when we are in a kitchen. We should make sure we've got hair nets on. We've learned that we should be cleaning things more often and testing more often. So, and that's in any industry ever. So just like those, the dairy industry has also majorly progressed. I mean, I know for a fact a lot of those precautions were not taken 100 years ago. But now there are a lot of safety protocols in place. You will almost always see dairy farmers wear gloves. There is a separate towel that is used for every single cow. There is no cross contamination from cow to cow, just in case one of them is sick. We are cleaning the barns every day, 2, 3 times a day. The feed is getting cleaned out all the time. That's on the farm, but then even after that, I mean, that's the main reason why pasteurization came to exist, is because we wanted to make sure that, okay, dairy is a good product for you, but it's a raw product. How can we make sure it's shelf-stable and always going to be safe for us to consume? And that's what pasteurization did. And that's a huge benefit to the dairy industry. Honestly, most of us in the last couple decades, we don't really know any different because pasteurization's been around for so long now. But it definitely was a thing that would get people sick because they wouldn't keep it cold enough, or bacteria would grow, that kind of thing. So pasteurization really helps to take care of that.
What is the major difference between organic milk and regular milk?
Oh, good question. Um, so my personal well, there's a lot of fact behind it. You will hear plenty of people who are very organic driven that they will say that's better. But the science behind it is there is no difference. So that's not personal. That is a scientific fact. Are the cows provided a little bit different of an experience? Yes. The food that they're fed, it's like they have to be organic food. The processes on the farm need to be meeting the organic process. But that being said, that does not mean that those cows can never be treated, because organic does not mean not treating your animals. Organic means there's certain things you can't use, but they're still needing to take care of those cows. They're not going to let a cow get sick and let it die. You're going to take care of the cow. So there might be longer holds where you have to keep the cow out longer. Um, Honestly, organic, it's a way to boost the industry and provide an opportunity for farms to provide a higher quality, or a marketing quality product. But when it comes down to the nutritional value and the safety of it, there is no difference. And those are the two most important things, right? We want to make sure we're drinking something that's healthy and something that's safe. And whether it's organic or conventional, we're getting the exact same thing. And I can promise you the cows on both ends are treated absolutely wonderfully, because as we said, happy cows are the ones that make milk. So a lot of it honestly is a marketing. But if someone wants to believe in the story that a farm is telling because it's their organic story, I will never discourage that. Like, right, if you connected with a farm who believes in their organic story, run with it. They are amazing farmers. That's how they chose to farm. Some areas of the country, that's just how it works best, is an organic experience, because their environment works better that way. But there's other parts of the country that if you tried to follow the organic guidelines, it just would never work. So there's plenty of people that have an opinion on it, but when it comes down to the important parts, there's nothing different.
So does what a cow eat affect the taste of the milk?
Good question. Um, No. So especially because of pasteurization, if you were to drink the raw milk, you might taste a smidgen difference if you are like really, 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 really looking for it. But I'm talking the cow would have had to get into something that they're not supposed to be eating. So like if they got a hold of like a really just I'm forgetting what the plant is called right now, but there's a plant that like, I mean, it stinks, but it grows wildly. And if they happen to get a hold of it, you can kind of smell it, but pasteurization takes care of all that. Now, that being said, you will see milk being a little bit different of color, but that's just because that's based off of breed. There are like the Holstein cow, your typical Chick-fil-A black and white cow. That is always going to be a pretty white milk. Whenever you get to some of our color breeds, like our Guernseys or our brown Swiss, that milk is actually a little bit yellower in color, and it's because it's heavier in butterfat and cream. And that's not because of anything they eat. That's just because genetically they produce a higher fat content milk.
So now that leads to a different question. Do different cows produce milk that are used for different products?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So your Holstein cow, it's typically their milk runs at like, I'm going to get a little nerdy on you here. So like 3.25% fat or 3.5. It's somewhere right around where whole milk actually is. So whole milk is 3.25% fat. Holsteins can be anywhere right around there to like 3.8% fat. So usually you'll see Holstein's milk, which is the majority breed in the country, in the US country, is used for your fluid milk. It can be used for other things, but that's most common. A Jersey, a brown Swiss, a milking shorthorn, any of those color breeds, you know, the tiny little ones that look like deer, those are Jerseys. They all can be 4%, 4.8%. They can start really getting to higher butter fat. That's where you're going to see your cheeses, your milks, your butters, right? Because you're able to have so much more of that yummy goodness to be able to make that product. So yeah, it's definitely you could use any of it for all of it, but when you've got more of the product of the butter fat, you might as well use it for the items that need more butter fat.
So I'm going to ask you to talk a little bit more about the Adopt a Cow program because I've had you've shared that with me before, and I'd love for the audience to hear more about that program.
Yeah. So honestly, that's my happy place. So the Adopt a Cow program, the long and short of it, it brings the dairy farm into the classroom. So while I definitely work with all ages, K to adult, I focus most of my time on K to eighth grade, sometimes into high school as well. And so the Adopt a Cow program connects classrooms all across the country with a farm from their state. We work with 38 farms across the country to tell their story. I mean, it's really a simple concept. I work with them. I've like become best friends with all of these farms. It's the best thing ever. I would love to take a tour around the country and visit them all. Um, I gather the information from them. I tell their story in PowerPoints and lesson plans and pictures and videos and just share that content with them while they're following the life of a calf. So they get to adopt an actual calf from their farm. All of the adopted calves for the program this year were actually just born within the last 2 weeks. So I'm just getting all these cute baby calf pictures right now. We'll be putting it into content, and then the classes follow along their experience all year long with their calf. And the really cool part, I mean, first of all, it's free. So anyone that's in this, it can be a teacher, it can be a library, it could be a Boy Scout, Girl Scout. We have senior citizen groups that sign up for this. I mean, we have work offices that sign up for this because they think it'd be cute to adopt a cow. So anyone can really do it. It's geared towards schools, but anyone can do it. It's completely free, and you get to follow the life of a calf, and you're just learning what does the farmer do to care for this calf? We're learning the experience of what it's like to be a farmer and how they care for their farm, how they care for their environment through the cuteness of the calf. These kids just latch on to this experience. They they think it's the cutest thing, and they really think this calf is like living in the backyard of their the teacher's yard, because they're like, can we visit it? Can we meet it? No, it's living on the farm. It's a real animal, right? We're following it in real time. And they follow throughout the whole school year. They get to chat with the calf at the end of the year on Zoom. And then we start with new calves in the next year, but obviously they continue living their dairy life on the farm, and will have their own baby someday. So it's an awesome experience. Registration for this year is closed. We just hit 2 million students for this year, which is
Wow.
amazing. That's been a big goal of mine for a long time. So that's been an awesome experience. But we'll kickstart this year, and then next year we'll open registration again and get the next school year started. So it's an awesome program. please feel free to share it if you have any questions with your teachers or anything like that. It's free and it helps the kids understand where their food comes from.
And you are definitely full of enthusiasm for this program, so that's wonderful. So I want to thank everyone for your questions. If you have further questions, you can contact Brittany directly. We shared her contact information in the chat. Brittany, what would you like the audience to remember from today's presentation?
Yeah, that's a great question. I want you to realize that dairy farming is a choice that's hard to do, but rewarding. Um, just like all of us in this world, we are trying our best to just do the best we can in our profession, with our family. Farmers are human too. They're gonna make mistakes. It happens, but they go above and beyond to make sure the milk you're pouring into your cereal tomorrow morning for your kids is the best product you can possibly get. And I don't say that lightly. I did the work for 18 years of my life, feeding the calves morning and night, right? So it's just know that your milk really does come from a good place, from people that care. It doesn't matter whether they've got 20 cows or 20,000 cows. It doesn't matter. Every single farmer cares. A happy cow is what produces milk. They have to be happy. So the farmer has to care about their happiness. So just know there's a lot of marketing, a lot of media out there that will try to tell you otherwise. But everything we do as farmers is to make sure that you're getting a product that you deserve.
Brittany, thank you so much for that presentation.
Absolutely.
So we ask if you will please join us for more Learn at Lunchtime programs that are coming up. You can visit the State of Pennsylvania website at statemuseumpa.org for program information and to sign up.